The next one is also going to be a Miss Foxy game, which is going to be interesting because you had a mixed bag.
Yeah. It's a teaser trailer. Not Entertainment. It's the arcade section of your. The secondary character in the first video game. I'm a little off-put by it so far because it's technically, right now what they're showing us is technically a prequel.
Yeah.
And while the game dealt with, teen angst, it was, at the core of it was solving a mystery as well as discovering that you had the powers to rewind time and alter events. Now, thus far in what they're showing us of the secondary character, this is the character that did not have these quote-unquote powers. This is a character who died. No matter how you played it, this character died in the first one. And while it fills in the blanks of the mystery from the very first video game, it leaves an even bigger mystery now because you're just sitting here like, okay, how is this progressing the story? How does this fall into the supernatural abilities that were showcased and what the game is technically about? Mm-hmm. So I'm right now very apprehensive about what this game is. So right now it just looks to me like they're showing the artsy stylings of it, which was very prominent in the first game. Mm-hmm. But if they're just showing me the artsiness of it, then I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care for that. Just show me everything else.
Exactly. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see as more rolls out on Life is Strange. Let's see. Now, moving forward, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, as Seth had mentioned. Mm-hmm. Obviously your typical, fighter game, and, 2-on-2, and everything like that, but what's really drawing people in, because the demo is out right now, and people are being blown away by this, the demo portion of the story mode. The story apparently is absolutely incredible thus far, and people are only playing the demo. Mm-hmm. And that's what's really, really getting everybody hooked in, which is very, very different for a fighting game. Because again, it's a button mashing fighting game. At the end of the day, it's a button mashing fighting game. But like people are really getting really drawn in, and it's the same thing, kind of like Injustice. Injustice is a fighting button masher, mm-hmm. For fighting and everything like that. But they always have a really good story to accompany it. And it seems Marvel vs. Capcom is doing that with a very good story that's mm-hmm. blending both worlds, and I'm excited for it. The more I saw about it, I knew I was going to want it. I was going to get it because I have the first one, but I was like, this looks really cool. Like, this is like, the story itself is looking really, really good. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Speaking of button mashing fighters, you Japanime fans were not left out. We were surprised and privy to Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Holy shit, this game. It's made to look exactly like the cartoons. Mm-hmm. It has every character up to Golden Frieza and everything like that. It looks amazing. And again, same thing. It's a 2-on-2. It's seamless, but it's all the sound effects. It's all the voices. It looks... Because the one thing that I was speaking to a friend of mine at work just today about it, because he got an amp for it too, because he's like, what he didn't like about the previous ones, it was the 3D modeling that they did on the previous ones. It kind of took you out of the feel of Dragon Ball Z, because, it's not a 3D cartoon. Mm-hmm. Or like that. This one, they toned down the 3D modeling aspect mm-hmm. to make way more to make you feel like you were playing in the Japanime. Yeah. And that it's brightly colored. It looks amazing. It plays amazing. It sound everything is big and huge. And oh my god, this is gonna be freaking awesome. Yeah. So definitely look out for that. let's see. We're still going into the thing. Should we jump to some MIAs, or we want to save that portion for later? I guess we'll jump to the MIAs for later. Right? How do you want to do this?
Let's go into some MIAs.
Some MIAs. Well, being Dan Law have brought it up, there were a couple of MIAs, missing in actions, that people were really expecting, that it was projected they would be debuting at E3, and people were expecting things, and they didn't show up, and people were like, what the fuck? Where's the game? Like, you guys were pumping this. Main mentions is Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
They debuted that 3 years ago now?
Yes.
3 years ago. There's been nothing other than that trailer that we saw that, was very mysterious but still looked rather boss and everything like that, and there's been nothing. I honestly feel I'm getting to the point with Cyberpunk 2077. I think it's going to fall into this is never coming out. I honestly think it's going to wind up falling into this is never happening, this is never coming out.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It's not going to come out at all. Also, shockingly missing, as we mentioned, this year was the first time 2K, WWE 2K. There was nothing. We already spoke at length of that earlier. Dan Law had now asked about Batman, the rumored Batman game that we all knew about, and then it was leaked out about and everything like that. There was nothing. Nothing on the Batman game, or any Batman game. And this is the first time at E3 in how many years there's been no announcement of any kind of Batman game.
Yeah, rumor had it that there was going to be a Batman Insurgency.
Yep, and there was nothing. And there was nothing. And then people were upset. So sorry, Dan Law, there was no Batman. The biggest missing one of all that really pissed everybody off, especially being it was kind of sort of advertised by PlayStation. It was pictured and everything. The Last of Us 2.
Yep.
I was irate.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. I was irate. I nerd raged.
Yeah.
Hardcore. Because we watched the whole presentation, made it through, and survived the presentation, which we're going to get to that in a little while, too.
Yes.
Yeah. But there was nothing on The Last of Us 2. And people were like, you gave us this amazing teaser story trailer last year. It was rumored, damn near confirmed, they were going to show something at E3. And there was nothing. All there was a poster on the wall. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Nothing at all.
And there's just no ideas of a release date. There's absolutely nothing for Last of Us 2. There was nothing there.
Now, don't get us wrong. There are other video gaming conventions between now and December. However...
There's PAX and Penny Arcade
yes,
and stuff
exactly.
like that, yeah.
However, in the grand scheme of things, E3 is basically the San Diego Comic-Con of video game conventions. I mean, and this is the very... Out of all the times E3 has been around, this is the very first year it's actually open to the public by popular demand. Finally. Now... I mean, if this is the big hurrah, this is the fucking WrestleMania, basically, of video game conventions.
Is V1, yeah.
This is where you showcase your shits and your biggest shits.
Yeah.
However, I guess this is where we can get into the critical portion of that presentation.
Well, okay, we're not going there yet.
No.
Hold back a little bit.
Okay.
Hold back a little bit.
Back.
Also, I don't know if you will call it MIA. But there wasn't, this is the first year in about 2, maybe even 3 years as well, there was nothing on a new UFC game from EA.
Yeah.
There was nothing. There was no teaser, there was no mention, there was no announcement, there was nothing on a UFC game. And not for nothing, in talking about it and thinking about it, I think it's more so because the last game, I think, fell incredibly flat.
It did.
It really fell incredibly flat.
See, the thing with the UFC game, which is the same thing I feel when it comes to the wrestling, the WWE 2K games, is that I feel those games should be a bi-yearly game.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that, yes, rosters change, but there's only so much you can do to those games to make them different from the last one. Now, I mean, I have the same complaint sometimes when it comes to the FIFAs and the Maddens, where, for the most part, players change, and yes, some controls change, and they add little things in here and there. But for the most part, to have these games done yearly, and yet keep them good, and to keep other people that don't particularly buy these yearly interested, there's really nothing that they have to offer other than better graphics and perhaps new moves or something of that nature. Maybe UFC is just taking the year off because, I mean, in all honesty, with the exception of, you know, the women's division, UFC as a whole has been quite quiet this year.
Yeah.
As opposed to any of their other years.
Well, you know, focusing on that Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight now.
Yeah, but that's now.
Yeah. But also, I think this... One, the franchise kind of started falling flat, but also, two, the other thing I think is a big factor as well is the complicated gameplay schematics for it. The gameplay schematics for UFC, because granted, yes, a lot of things you need to be able to do to cover that game. In the same token, like, trying to play that game, it's like trying to read a book of dynamics. Like, it's extremely difficult. It's all about timing and knowing every motion and everything like that. Because it's not just about button mashing. It's like you got to move up, down, left, right. Okay, grapple. Then that takes you grapple. Like, it's like 50 moves to do a leg dive. You know, it's like, what the hell? Like, it's an extremely difficult game, even on the easiest mode. It's a very difficult game.
I mean, in all honesty, I think one of the best pitches they had last year for the game, which is what made people pick it up, was the extra characters. If I'm right, wasn't Bruce Lee one of the characters? Bruce Lee was one.
Yeah. See, and that was the main reason. No, the first one.
The first one, I'm sorry.
First one was Bruce Lee. The second one was Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And the Bruce Lee one obviously sold like astoundingly, because I have that one.
Yeah.
Because I needed to have Bruce Lee. Last year's had Mike Tyson. It was also the debut year of CM Punk in it and everything like that, which was rather interesting. But yeah, I mean, the last one just completely fell flat.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are our general MIAs. Of course, also Final Fantasy VII was another one everybody was expecting on, even though they pre-announced it wasn't going to appear. I guess people were hopeful, especially being Kingdom Hearts did show something after being announced as not showing something. Final Fantasy VII Remake, again, 2-3 years after the fact, and still nothing there.
See, now this isn't a point of, show us a trailer or show us a gameplay. That's not even where we're talking about.
Can we have an update?
Yes, it's more so a matter of, can a developer get on stage like the other presentations did, and give us some kind of update about these games. Oh, it's currently in progress, or, you know, we have a hopeful release date. I mean, fuck, when all these Mass Effects were still in production, you know what BioWare did? They showed behind-the-scenes footage of the developers creating the game.
They gave you something. They gave you something.
To keep you interested and to let the audience know, hey, yes, it's still going.
It's being worked on.
Exactly.
It's being worked on, exactly.
You know, whereas, and again, these are things that make the panels as long as they are. The developers and the creators, they come on, they talk about the games. Even if it's not even finished, they will get on and talk about them. Whereas, can we go there now?
I'm going to talk about their greatest disappointment, and then we're going right in. Okay, you know what? Just go.
Okay. Sony.
The most impersonal conference of the entire week. The most impersonal conference in the history of E3. We watched it via GameSpot's feed.
Yes.
Because IGN's feed absolutely sucked.
Yes.
IGN's feed was terrible. GameSpot's feed, all we had to deal with was bad camera work. The camera work was atrocious. But so let's lay the story out for you if you didn't watch the PlayStation one. I invite you to watch the full PlayStation presentation to see what we're talking about. Don't watch the snippets. Grit your teeth and bear it to get the full experience, and watch the actual Sony conference.
Yes, like the first couple minutes of the conference, the audio was out.
It was about 15 minutes.
Yes, there was no audio whatsoever, which in the grand scheme of things kind of didn't matter because nobody really came on stage to present anything. They just decided to press play
and it was playing
to show gameplay footage and trailers of all of the games that they have coming out.
Then about 15 minutes in, president of Sony PlayStation comes out.
Yes.
Does an atrocious speech, bumbling over his words left and right, to the point where he tried to express something, he hits himself in the chest, but he hits his microphone, which creates a loud thump through the whole freaking audience and everything like that. And it's like, It was just like, it's all about the games. It's all about the games. It's all about the games. Without any further ado, let's get to the games. And he starts to walk off. This was literally what happened. He goes,